Alright, YouTube, coming at you with another video. This is going to be a how-to video on how to change your carbon and chemical blocks for your RODI unit. You got your filter block, your sediment filter, just your standard micron filter stock. Then you have a micron filter stock with carbon, I believe, in it. And here's the RODI ionized resin. And it's like vacuum sealed, so it stays good. And you can, like, if it wasn't sealed like this, you'd be able to see little air pockets in it, which means it's probably compromised. But this, as you can tell, it's super tight and everything's really compact still. So awesome job from Bulk Resupply doing their product right. But let's go ahead and jump into it, and I'll get right back to you. Alright, so first things first is we're going to go ahead and make sure our valve over here is turned all the way off. Sorry for the squeaking sound. Alright, and make sure our gate valve, or whichever valve this is, I can't remember. This is the one that goes to my inline to this. I'm going to go ahead and, to it. I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's cut off. And everything's off. Okay, everybody, so here's the point where we want to go ahead and remove each one of these stages, all three of them plus the deionized one up here in the corner. What we're going to do here is we're going to loosen each one of them up, and we're going to pull it out, drain the water, and set it aside in the order that it came off, just so you know exactly where each container went. For me, I already went ahead and loosened them up and poured the water out, so you're not going to see that, but all you do is use your ring right here that they give you with your kits, which is awesome of Bulk Resupply to actually do that. But you use that, you go ahead and put it up here. It's got little edges, and you crank it. So you loosen it up, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Here's the sediment filter. You're going to drain your water out. Luckily for me, I have a sink right here. And then we're going to go ahead and set that down here over a side out of the way so we can go ahead and add our other filter blocks. I'm going to go ahead and remove all these. Make sure they're empty. I'm keeping each one of the things in these so I know which one they are because they're actually color coded. Alright, everybody, so here we go. I've got it from left to right, same as my stage unit. It's the sediment filter, sediment filter, a micron filter, carbon and micron filter, and RODI resin. Got each package here corresponding to each one because they are all color coded. This is a purple color. As you can see, that's a little bit of purple color. The white, and this one's also packaged. And the resin. Okay, so here's how I do mine. Go ahead and get my first one right here. I'm going to go ahead and take the sediment filter out. I'm going to put it in my trash pretty much. And then I'm going to go ahead and get a clean towel. I'm going to wipe everything off of this, the edges and everything like that. And then I'm going to dump the rest of my water that drained out of it. I'm just going to get rid of that. A little container over here. And then I'm going to wipe out the inside of this. And I know this is boring. You guys can fast forward if you want to each stage. But this is what I do for each one of mine, just to make sure I can get all that junk out of there. Make sure it's nice and clean. Then I like to clean the ring just a little bit, just wipe the inside of it like that, so it keeps that seal on it. And that one is good to go. Go ahead and take the packaging, open it up, and this one doesn't really have a right or wrong way to put it in, like it's the same on both sides, as you can see. And let's go ahead and show you a comparison difference here. Let's see if I can get it over here. Alright, comparison difference. You can already see the color difference right here. This one's the old one, new one, completely clean, and the inside difference. Let's see if I can get you that right there. It's got a little bit of like messed up and fraying up here and all that stuff. Obviously, it's like an orangish yellow, disgusting nastiness. So that's why I like to change mine out every roughly 6 to 8 months. Normally, it's anywhere from 6 to 12 months, but I like to keep on top of this just to make sure my tank stays clean. So all you do is right here, there's a little tiny ridge on the bottom. It basically fits this little hole. So all you have to do is set it down in there, and that's it. Boom, there's that one. Gonna go ahead and do the same thing with this one. Go ahead and take it out, set it aside. This one you can't really tell like what's really wrong with it because it still actually looks pretty good. But I like to change all my filters out at the same time just so I know that they're all clean and perfect. But you can't really tell what's going on with that one. It's pretty much just micron. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and wipe this thing down. You could also go ahead and run some clean RODI unit water through this stuff, like just rinse it out real quick. But I really don't think it's gonna matter that much since you're gonna go ahead and start running all your stuff through it anyway. Write that down. Push this all in there. Start spinning it. And there we go. Clean that little rubber seal again. Then poke your hole through it. Normally for these, I like to make sure whichever side is the label, like which way the label's facing, like this is the top of it down. I like to make sure I keep it that way so then I can just pull this off and set it in the same way. Because as far as I know, there is no right and wrong way to do these, but that's just the way I do it. So I remember I make sure this rubber seal's got a nice clean edge on it. This one also has a rubber seal, and there's also that little hole in this inside of that right there, so you can set it right down where it goes. And there's that one. I'm going to go ahead and do the micron and carbon. This one, it's kind of the same thing. It does look a little grayer than normal, but as you can tell, this is a little bit like white and pure looking. This is the old one, gray. Go ahead and get rid of that one. Clean my container here. I know it's a little repetitive, guys, but just bear with me. Making sure that for all the new people out there that are into this, just getting their RDI units or just changing their filters out, that they kind of know what to expect and what to go through. And this is just how I do it. I'm sure there's numerous ways to do it, but yeah, just thought I'd share my experience with you guys. Go. Make sure this is all cleaned up. Same thing with this one. Label up. Hook it out. Just like that. And there's those stages. You can go ahead and add those back in just by screwing them back in. And now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do this one. This one I will require a sink or a big, like, one of those big utility sinks or something of the sort, because this stuff is pretty hard to put in and you have to pack it in there as tight as you can get it. And you're going to get about 98 to 99% of this actually in there. So we'll go ahead and jump into that. Okay guys, so here I'm showing you how to change the RODI resin. All this nastiness, that brown, gross looking color. We're going to go ahead and change that out to the new fresh stuff. So what you want to do is flip it over and loosen the cap on the bottom. The resin's you might get a few little pieces fall out, but that's what it looks like after it's used up. It's disgusting. So what you're going to want to do is just try to shake out as much of the stuff as you can, and try to keep this little ring right here, because that helps us keep it really tight in there. And then with the resin, you're going to want to dump it out in a container and just get as much of it out as you can. should be good. The rest shouldn't be too bad going down the sink. Because it's a utility sink, yay! Alright, so what you're going to do here is just use your water, obviously, and it might be a little loud to you guys, but you're going to want to rinse everything off. Try to get as much as that, as much as the RO resin out of here as you can. Just rinse your containers. I know this is the water straight from the plant or whatever, but it'll be okay because it's going back through all the stages and stuff, and you want to let your whole unit run for at least an hour, just emptying the entire thing out and getting all the particles and stuff out of the new stuff that you just added. So that's clean. Just have to rinse that off, or dry it off. And you're going to want to clean your ring off. It's not perfect, but it'll do. Got a little bit on it. And now you're going to want to rinse this part out. Then we're going to go ahead and dry this out like we did all the other ones, and then I'm going to show you how to fill this container up with the resin. Alright everybody, so here we're going to add the deionized resin in it. This is the color changing stuff, and it's the nuclear grade. You're going to need this. Obviously, you're going to need the funnel, and you're going to need your container, and there's going to be a lot of hitting this on a hard surface to make sure that you compact this in there as tight as you can. I would recommend getting a funnel. It definitely helps. I think they're fairly cheap on their website, Bulk Resupply. So that's that, and now I'm going to show you what this stuff is actually supposed to look like. You're going to hear it. Opening that vacuum seal. Alright, set that aside. Here's what it's supposed to look like. Crystal blue. It looks so pretty. That's what it's supposed to look like, guys. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm probably going to fast forward it because I don't want you guys to hear all the sound of me banging this on the bottom here. So let's go ahead and get into that. And it won't really matter if you spill a little bit of it because you're probably not going to get all this in there, but we're going to do our best. So that's why I partially opened the bag just a little bit. Alright, so here's where you want to, like, I've still got just a little bit left down in there. Here's where you want to actually use this to compress it in, but it's going to be a little tricky because you're probably going to get stuff around in these edges, which you'll have to clean off a little bit later. So you're just going to screw it back on there. There we go. And this is what's going to keep it tight down in there, so then you can start banging it again to hit it farther down in there. Alright, it doesn't look like it did a lot, but that'll allow us to get a little bit more in there, and then we repeat the process till we can get as much of this as we can in there, which I don't have too much left, but it's the end stages that are always the hardest because you're going to get stuff in the cracks of all that and everything. Your goal is just to get as much of this as you can in there, so... Hear that crunching sound? Yeah, that's it getting in the grooves. Almost there. As you can tell, it looks already completely full. But the more you pack it and the denser it gets, the better it's going to work for you and the longer it's going to last. This is kind of loosening up the bottom so it gets down here in the edge. Alright. That's all of it. Okay, so at this point, you're going to smash it down one more time. And then you're going to make sure you get it as tight as you can. Then we're going to re-rinse this and clean the ring off all the way around this without trying to mess the top of this up, so that way we can keep it really tight. And it's okay if it doesn't completely tighten up because all that grit and stuff that's in there, but we'll go ahead and do this. So now we're going to go ahead and loosen this back up. We're going to clean the edge of this off. Probably help to like use a paper towel or something like that. Let me grab one real quick. Alright, so sorry if the flash went out and the light's a little sketchy, but my phone was overheating a little bit. So you're just going to get your paper towel wet a little bit, and then you're going to clean around the edge of this, so without trying to mess with this part of it, because it's kind of already made an indentation where that's going to keep the pressure on it. Alright, so here I'm going to clean this part of it out and try to hold on to this without anything falling out. Now that we got that cleaned out, we're going to go ahead and put this back together without trying to get any of this like all over the place. So I'm going to try to push it back in just a little bit. Okay. Perfect. Make sure it's nice and tight. And that's how you change the RODI resin. And I'll go ahead and get back to you guys in a minute after I put everything back together. Okay, so now that we've got everything changed and all the new filters are in each container and all the containers are cleaned, I'm going to go ahead and show you that there's the inside of this has got a little hole where everything passes through. I go ahead and clean that out. I'll add a little picture. Go ahead and clean that out on each one of these. Just stick my finger in there. There's not hardly ever anything in them, but just to make sure there's nothing stuck up in there, which nothing should be with all these filters, but doesn't hurt to check. So now all we do is screw these back in, and then we could initially turn our system on and let everything run for like an hour, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and I'll go ahead and show you putting these things back in. They do have the hole that I was telling you about to line it up so it stays in the center of the chamber. And what I do is I just hand tighten these. I don't use the tool to tighten these, because I always check for leaks afterwards just to make sure there's none, but there never has been any. For the RODI one, you want to make sure that the top, this part of it, is at the pointing up. It's even got an arrow right here pointing up, and you want to make sure that the ring is down at the bottom where you screwed it all back together. And that is how you change your RODI unit filters and deionized resin. After you put all the filters in and you're ready to turn everything back on, go ahead and turn it all on, but before you do that, make sure that your blue line, the one that's coming out at the very last stage of your RODI unit, is in a bucket or in a sink so you can let it run and for about 30 minutes to an hour to make sure you let all these filter blocks clean themselves out, basically, just in case there is anything in them. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll check you later. If you liked it, go ahead and like it, comment, subscribe maybe, and hopefully I'll have some more videos out for you guys later. Thanks again for watching. See ya.